Hi guys, welcome to the Dad Edge podcast. I'm Larry Hagner, your host and founder of this show. Gentlemen, what we need is what we have for you today, and that is we need more humor in the world. I think we can all agree on that, without a doubt. We are living in uncertain times. I think 2020 has kind of messed with us in some way, shape, or form. We've had COVID. We've had all kinds of other crazy things. We've had one of the worst recessions since 2008. And today, I'm having a conversation with a man who is definitely in the limelight. He's been in the limelight for a long time. And he likes to keep it light, likes to keep humor as a part of his life and a part of his family's life. He is a dad. He is an actor. He is a comedian. And his name is Aaron Kleiber. He has commanded audience with his energized, crowd-pleasing live performances with tales of life, marriage, and fatherhood. His breakout was one of the most in-demand featured acts, touring alongside the likes of Bob Saget, Jim Breuer, John Witherspoon, and Harlan Williams. And he's had multiple appearances as a guest on the hit podcast Doug Loves Movies, Bob and Tom, along with an impressive live performances at the Big Sky Comedy Fest, Gilda's Laugh Fest, twice at the Limestone Comedy Festival, among others. He is also named the best comedian by Pittsburgh Media 4 times in a row over the past 4 years. You can actually find his latest works on Grown Ass Dad comedy album and his newest special, which I recently just saw, on Amazon Prime. So if you just check that out, it's hilarious. This guy is amazing. But what you don't know about Aaron is he had a really, really tough childhood, but he's been able to find the beauty and the joy and the positivity in being a father himself. Today, I truly enjoyed the show with him. It's literally what dads out there need most right now, and that's how do I keep laughter as a part of my life? How do I keep laughter as a part of my family? How do I not take things so seriously in my life? How do I not be so darn hard on myself, right? So that's what I got for you today. Today's show is a special treat, man. It's a lot of fun. Aaron and I had a lot of laughs, a lot of back and forth, and he is just a really great guy. All right, gentlemen, no more talk from me. Let's get right to the comedy relief right now. Here we go. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Aaron. Are you on? What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
That's how you pronounce your name, right?
Yeah, dude. Thanks to Key and Peele, that has been, it's funny because comedians are always behind on watching stuff because, it's just, you're busy, I don't watch currently. So it's like for a year, people are like, hey, Aaron. I'm like, when did this become a thing? Why are people yelling Aaron? And then I'm catching up on Key and Peele. And I'm like,
that guy. Yeah.
The names are so funny, dude. So like just until, you don't look like a Larry. You know what I mean? Look at you. You look like a Dirk. You look like a bad dude. Names are funny.
Speaking of funny story and names, you want to hear a really humiliating story?
100%.
Okay, cool. Because I'm going to tell it to you anyway. So yeah, Larry, I think I'm the only guy under 70 with the name Larry. And, it's like, I've heard that a lot, which I guess I take that as a compliment. Like, you don't look like a Larry. Or like if they talk to me over the phone, they're like, wow, like I expected like some old man, like who's like in his 60s with no hair. And nothing against bald people. Shout out to bald people. But yeah, I was named after my dad, and my dad makes it a big joke. He's like, wasn't my idea. I want to name you Jason. I hate my own name. So I kid you not, true story. Freshman year of college, saw this 3 months into the first year, saw this girl all around campus for like 3 months. And did one of those things where I was too nervous to talk to her. And I was like, oh man, I'd love to talk to that girl. I'm really interested in her. And I finally saw her at a party and had a couple cups of liquid courage. And I was like, I'm going to go over there. And I went over to her and I was like, hey, how are you? And she like lit up and she's like, I'm good. How are you? And I was like, okay, it was a good start. And I was like, listen, I have noticed you around campus for months. I was like, I've always wanted to come talk to you and just meet you. I was like, what's your name? And she smiled. She's like, it's funny you mentioned that because I've noticed you all over on campus and I've always wanted to meet you. And I'm like, yes, like
Okay.
it's gonna be a great night.
Yeah.
And now here I am telling this story 25 years later. So anyway, she said, well, I'm Heather. What's your name? And I said, my name's Larry. It's nice to meet you. She's like, what? And I was like, my name's Larry. And she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. And she's
Are you
like,
serious?
oh, dude, it gets way better. I mean, I might as well have gotten neutered on the same night after what she said. So she laughs and she pats me on the back and she's like, I'm sorry. This is not going to work for me. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, I'm sorry, hon, but your name is not a bedroom name. Good luck.
What?
And walked away. And, dude, I felt like that part in Ace Ventura was in the shower and he's like, no. I'm like, oh my God, how do you recover? I left the party. I was like,
oh
no
my
recovering
gosh.
from that.
That's the stories you hear about people's names, that when people change their name, it's like from kindergarten. Remember?
Right.
How they're like, but no, yours happened when you were like 19.
Yeah. Sadly,
you can't change your name to something cool like Max now.
It's done. It's over.
That's great.
That's why Nikki Sixx never went by Frankie again, maybe.
Right. I make a joke. I'm trying to think if I did this. I did this on my previous album, which isn't even digitized yet. It will be. Who cares? But like how my grandmother said my name was weak. It was Aaron. I mean, we were all German too, so I don't know, it wasn't like something, but she's like, Aaron, it's a weak name. You know what I mean? And so I've always like laughed about names, and it has become a part of my comedy. Literally, I just personify names and it's fun.
Oh my
Aaron.
God.
It's not strong.
Right. Thanks, Grandma.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Grandmas are supposed to build you up, not tear you down. Right.
Dude, my grandma literally, it's like a kid at school ripping on you every day. That was my grandma. Like even if I was a grown adult, I would go over and visit, or I would always have to like go over it. I'd go and put in her air conditioners, and it wasn't even like, oh, I just helped you put in your air conditioner. And she's like, you need to lose some weight, It's like, and then she gives my sister cookies. I'm like, what the heck? I just did this, whatever.
Oh, thank you so much, Grandma. You're so good for my self-esteem growing up. Yeah, I like it, man.
Sorry, I'm drinking my afternoon Diet Dr. Pepper. This is my dad treat right here.
Everybody needs a fix, right?
Daddy did some work today. Not a sponsor, guys. # not an ad.
Not an ad. This episode is not brought to you by Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
So let's get into how you grew up. I'm always fascinated to hear, you guys who are into comedy, you guys, as you shared with me before we hit record today, any guy who's in comedy has got a crazy story growing up. So I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. I feel like that is the case. Like I've interviewed so many comics that it's almost never normal. It's, and so many of my comedy friends, it seems like either they definitely went through some adversity in their life, or they just had a huge family. Like that's the only two things I've ever heard about the background of a comedian, even though then somebody goes, well, what about so-and-so? They were like normal, like, I guess like people like John Mulaney had a normal upbringing, whatever. But it feels like John Mulaney feels like he was raised by two 90-year-old Jewish ladies. So he's so funny. But no, I come from a place where, I don't know my biological father. And so I actually, my mom got married when I was really young, 2-3 years old. And that started 10 years of basically physical abuse with my stepdad. So fast forward through that, unpack whatever you want. I've been through therapy. I'm a comedian, know thyself. So Larry, have at it. But, comedy came into where I grew up was that when we finally kind of got out of abuse, I went from like a big house and a big yard. It wasn't happy, but I went from that to we moved around a bunch for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then we ended up just going somewhere where my mom knew some people that she worked with, and she worked at a hospital. So she knew people that she worked with here, and we ended up moving into the projects in a kind of a down and out neighborhood, which was Homestead, Pennsylvania, which was the steel capital of the world, so we moved into Homestead when all the steel mills shut down, and since then Pittsburgh has made a good recovery. But I moved into a place where, I probably didn't go to school with anybody different than me before, so I was kind of thrown into just like a tough school, tough neighborhood. And I remember, like, I tell this story. I don't even know. There's a mini doc in front of my comedy special, and I don't know if this part was cut because I've seen so many different cuts of this mini doc. It's like what part of abuse did I talk about? But it was a part where I remember like my first week of 6th grade middle school. And I came into that school just an angry kid, just being around negative energy and anger. And so I went in just, being the tough kid the last year, just like, and especially in 5th grade. But then once I went to middle school, like all the neighborhoods are combined and it's just like, it's a big craziness. And the first week I remember trying to be like a smart ass, like trying to be like tough. And this kid whose nickname was already in 6th grade, his nickname was already Rumpy. Okay.
Oh,
he punched me so hard. I remember getting hit thinking like, this is like a grown man. Feels like a grown man punching me. Like, and I don't think I remember hitting the floor. And I remember just thinking like, dang, like I thought I was tough. Damn it. Like I thought I was a bad dude. And I realized I was like, I don't want to fight people. Like, I don't want to keep fighting. This is stupid. And I just kind of started being goofy and started being funny. And, I kind of fell in love with comedy movies and, being that kid. My mom worked, 2 jobs. She worked as a dietitian at a hospital. During the day, she would come home for 2 hours, take a 40-minute nap, and then she would go work as a bartender and server till 1 a.m. So I grew up watching comedy. I'm watching Mel Brooks movies when I was, 7 years old. And so in middle school, I just started, emulating comedians and doing, in living color sketches and, Saturday Night Live sketches. And that worked. It was more like, instead of people want to fight me, they're like, yo, he's crazy. Like he, come here, Aaron, come here. Like
Aaron.
Yeah. Aaron, come over here and be crazy, and it was always, it turned into that thing. So that's kind of how how I understand. I'm sure somebody with a PhD was like, actually, Aaron, you're funny because you're your father. I'm like, okay, well, that's my best guess. But yeah, really, it ended up being like something that kind of filled me up, but also in turn was a defense mechanism. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
Yeah.
First of all, most important question of that entire segment. What's a nap? What are these things called naps? I keep hearing this word, and I don't know what it is.
Okay. Listen, I know I'm only a father of 3, which is amateur hour. Okay, Lair. No, a nap. See, nap can be defined as many things. A nap for me, I think after we're done talking, my nap is going to be, I have a curtain in my dad quarters here. That mostly keeps the air conditioning in because I'm still poor. You know what I mean? I still like to keep myself humble. Okay. No all house air. Okay. Daddy grew up poor. So, but the curtain is shut. And so after this, my nap will be probably playing Red Dead Redemption for 20 to 30 minutes. That's my nap.
Okay. It's a good nap.
By the way, and I also mentioned a 5-year-old video game, which is also makes sense to you too.
It totally does.
Let me try this new game.
Why does this thing have so many buttons? That's what I keep thinking.
I just cracked the plastic on Madden 17.
Oh, yeah, good for you.
I've told that joke before that literally, like, I'm behind on video games too. It's like, I told a joke before, I think it's in my special, who knows? That like, I literally had like Madden 2018 in my trunk sealed till like 6 months ago.
Wow.
I was like, what? I was like, oh yeah, I got this.
I got this a while ago.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, my kids can't fathom the fact that they're like, let me get this straight. Like the first video game console you had a stick and a red button. I'm like, it's called Atari. And it was awesome because it was just 2 jobs versus like the 67 things that you can do on Madden.
Right. I know.
That I will never figure out. Like,
and also like watching my 5-year-old, we play Star Wars Battlefronts.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that is fun. we're total Star Wars nerds here. Not by my fault. Well, my son's name is Luke, but it could be named after a doctor in the Bible. You won't know.
Good point.
So, but like Star Wars Battlefronts, I'm watching my 5-year-old little girl, like how little our kids are when she's this little, I call her little chicken legs. She has her tiny little hands wrapped around this Xbox controller as Darth Maul, like, I'm like, what the?
She's like
when we were 5-6 years old, I couldn't beat the first level on Mario.
Right.
My daughter is beating up some kid in Germany as Darth Maul. She's 5. It's crazy.
Oh my God, dude. That's great.
God, I'm world.
No, but it's a serious question, obviously. I'm not messing with you, but
we can bounce back and forth. Serious, funny. Follow your heart.
You mentioned you didn't know your biological father. Have you ever met him?
No, it's something that like I just started talking about, with my mom. We've like publicly, like bringing it up, for like domestic violence awareness and things like that comes up. But no, I really, I never really, I know the information, but it's nothing I ever really thought about or pursued. And it's weird because a lot of people want to, a lot of people, it's a thing. And I'm like, I feel like they're in my life. I honestly can't say it any other way. I feel like people have been put in my life that were those father figures. You know what I mean? I feel like, they were kind of provided, and, I'm thankful that those people were put in my life to make me the man I am. You know what I mean? And I hope I'm okay. Like saying the man, like, like we always say, like the man makes the man I am. Like, well, what is that? Am I okay with this? You know what I mean? But like, I feel like my wife is too smart to stay with me if I'm an idiot. So she's still here. She's amazing, and my kids are pretty good people. So either my wife did everything or I'm okay. You know what I mean? So, so yeah, I've been fortunate to have those people, and it's interesting. It's been, an array of people. You know what I mean? I feel like a really wounded little boy needs like an army of people in his life.
I agree with that.
And I had those people come from drama directors to hockey coaches to youth pastors. Pastors in my life. Other comedians, there's been comedians that have been very influential to me, like father figures. So yeah, it's crazy.
And you mentioned that, I guess you had a stepfather that was abusive there for a while. Is he still around? I mean,
not like, he's around, but not, it's my sister's dad. Okay. So, that's a thing that's, it's also out of respect for my sister too, because, some people are like, F that, but it's still my sister's dad. So, it's not something that like, I'm too negative about, you know what I mean? And
Sure.
I kind of guard that story too, just, because I love my sister, you know what I mean?
Understandable. Is there any desire to meet your biological father just out of curiosity, or just
no? Wait, is this part of it?
It is.
No, not really. If there is something I learned in life is that, family is what you make it. Family is kind of what you're delivered. You know what I mean? And you discover that. I have brothers in my life that I call my brothers that I grew up with, 2 guys that I grew up with, that their dad was put in my life, and we lost him, when I was 15 years old. He was one of my first kind of, people I met. And so to this day, I still call his 2 sons my brothers. And I have, I went to college at Geneva College. I have a degree in adolescent ministry and counseling and a degree in theology. Boom, twist.
Wow.
Yeah. But, and I had roommates in college that, half of them are youth pastors now. I think 2 of them are head pastors now. And, I had those brothers during college. That was one of my, one of the biggest times of my life, because, I think with what you do is why, I love Dad Edge and I love the Alliance, something like that, is that I've experienced that. I've experienced that accountability, iron sharpens iron. And, that having those brothers, those guys will, I'll know them, and love them for the rest of my life. So there's been all sorts of that family that's been put in my life, I mean, one of my comedy partners and old friends, I call her my sister, because, we are like, soul friends. And, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Game of Thrones, I guess. And I don't believe in bloodlines or whatever. I don't, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on the biological father thing. I didn't meet mine until I was 30. So 15 years ago in a coffee shop randomly.
Right. Yeah.
It was pretty crazy.
I'm sure.
And you have 3 kids now. How long have you been married to?
I've been married. Oh, geez. Oh, you're throwing me the trick questions before nap time.
We can edit it.
Oh, you don't have to edit nothing. I don't care. No, I think, wait, we just hit 15. Wait, I just went brain dead. What year is it? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh gosh, we're going to be 18 years. I can't remember this. This is funny. You'd ask me any other day and I remember. Yeah. Right. I think we're going on 16 years, I think.
Okay. It's between 15 and 18, somewhere.
Holy crap. Right. We got married in 2003. What's that? Oh my God.
Us too. So that's 17 years. That's okay.
Jeez,
I'm not good at math.
You know why? Because I feel like I just listened to something. I listened to you yesterday and I feel like you said 17 years. Mm-hmm. So it played a trick on my brain. Anyway, edit out why I need medication. No medication.
And how did you and your wife meet?
Church, man. I met her in church. It was a summer after my senior year. And, I came from high school, with just being like a funny dude and being in, musicals and plays and hanging out with all sorts of people. And I had girlfriends and, I was just a funny dude. And I feel like, I just kind of had, I think, my senior year, I kind of took more seriously, I guess. I don't know. Did I? I got a 1.8 and was class clown. So not really, but I visited a friend's church and with a group of people, and it was supposed to be like their youth Sunday. And it was basically like a church service held by all the teenagers, right? So I'm like, yeah, sure. We'll come and hang out. And like, we were going to go out to eat after, Sunday lunch, whatever. And I know I'm 18 having Sunday lunch with my boys. Okay. Stay strong, but yeah, I see this girl just like dancing and singing and like, just, you know what I mean? You've been there. And I remember thinking, I gotta get to know her. Like I want to, and I asked her if she wanted to go get ice cream, and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. And that was it. And I will say, like, I always say in comedy interviews, cause my comedy revolves so much around like my wife and my kids, I always say like, I can truly say I'm not the man I am if it wasn't for my wife. I mean, my wife, the Greek term is paraclete. I told you I have a degree, but it's just that it's that helper. It's that spirit alongside of you. And, I'm not complete without her. So I can say that pretty confidently, you guys are into that. It's true, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can only tell you what I, think is true. So, but yeah, it's been a pretty crazy journey. You know what I mean? There's I feel like there's no life without my wife. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I feel you on that one. My wife and I, we've got a good relationship and we've had to work hard at it. Yeah. We met in college. She was 18. I was 21. So you have 3 kids now. You have 2 girls and a boy. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for you, let me ask you this. You do comedy for a living. Mm-hmm. So
crazy.
How?
So insane, dude.
Right. And which is fantastic, by the way. How do you intertwine your work with your family? In other words, how do you bring fun? Because I feel like us guys, man, we're just so serious. And as you kind of think on that one, I'll share a couple things with you. Like one of my wife and I have sat down a couple of years ago and we did this exercise called, we call it in our mastermind community, the core value exercise. Mm-hmm. It's, everybody operates within 5 to 7 core values. And usually our core value shows up like service or family or contribution, that type of thing. So,
I've given a couple leadership talks in my day.
So you know what I'm talking about then, right? So
not anymore though. I swear about diapers. Okay.
But one thing for us is out of our 5 to 7, we did this exercise separately and we came together and we were like, wow, we actually have a lot in common because there was 150 to choose from. And we actually were, I think we aligned on 5 of them. And one of them was humor. And we use that a lot with raising 4 boys. I always say raising 4 boys is like being at a drunk fraternity house that you never leave and no one ever sleeps and they eat all your food. And like I say things to these kids outside, I am not kidding. This really did happen. I can't make this up. I had to tell my 12-year-old why he shouldn't eat cheese and crackers while taking a dump.
Yeah.
I am not kidding. And in his mind, it made he's like, dude, he's like, if I would have left this on the counter, like someone would have taken it. And I'm like,
that is, you said one of my favorite phrases ever is, I could not make this up. I think I say that on stage like every 8 minutes.
Right. I thought you were going to say one of your favorite phrases was, I like to eat cheese and crackers while taking a dump. But
that also, I mean, as a boy, I would say that's not good, but do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
So sometimes I have to multitask. I'm busy.
Yeah, you're busy. You don't want someone to steal your stuff. But like,
he's already a hustler, Dad. Okay,
he is. But we've had to intertwine humor into being parents and being married, because if we didn't have humor, we would probably be driving ourselves absolutely mental because everything would annoy you, like everything. And so if you can't like laugh at it, then you're going to go crazy. So for you, how have you intertwined your work, which is comedy, into family?
It's weird because I have those moments of when you read, I've read tons of, I think I showed you earlier, all these comedy books, and I kind of starting to have those feelings now that I've been doing stand-up professionally for about 10 years. But before that, before I had kids, I was always into it. I was always doing some form of entertainment, just not stand-up. So like when I read these books, it's like you hear these stories about how like I was raised in a funny family. These stories of, my dad was goofy. My mom was silly. Like we were always, my dad, you'll read these books and it'll be like, my dad was the funniest person I knew. And he was a car mechanic. It's like, you hear stories from like, I'm looking at like Bernie Mac and Martin Short and Billy Crystal. And so I'm like, wow, like I think my kids are growing up with a really funny parents. Like, you know what I mean? Like my son and even my little one, like the little girl, they're bananas funny. Like I remember my son's first bit he ever did, which now we have bits. Like all my kids have bits. Like they have bits they do. Like, all 3 of them have like little things and they're like building their kind of toolbox of funny things. But like, my son was like a year and a half old and like he like bumped his head and he turned his lights off with he went like this. And I was like, where? You're like not even 2. He's doing bits. And then I'm realizing, and my wife's like, you're literally a cartoon with our kids all the time. So now it doesn't surprise me that kids are act like cartoons all the time. You know what I mean? But like, that's it's almost like, it's hard to answer that because it's not like, well, sometimes we do this activity where we do funny. No, we don't. Funny voices are always a thing. Like the dinner table is bits and funny voices and farts. And, we're hard fart stage right now. I don't know. I know your boys are like what, like 13 to 5 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, it's fart city. Like right now we have so many fart bits. And I think one of the things, can I just, for the dads and moms out there, can I just address fart bits? Okay.
Please do.
This is how a professional comedian handles fart bits with their kids. Okay. Now farts are always funny. Okay. But there's a degree of funny. You know what I mean? So really it's like, it's being smart to know which ones are funny. So it's almost training my kids where just like my son's just like doing one fart thing. And I'm like, that's not that funny, man. Save it up for another good fart idea. You know what I mean? Like pick and choose, not farts all the time. You know what I mean? If you drop a fart joke every once in a while, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? But it's just like, it's like correcting them. It's almost like comedy training early on. It's like two fart bits a day. Like, slow down, farts aren't funny all the time. But like, it's like, it's all the time. I don't know how else to explain it like that. You know what I mean? But not that like, some people are annoyed that if they were at our dinner table, but like it is, I mean, we're fun all the time. We're always making each other giggle. Especially to hear, my kids, I can hear them take turns making each other laugh, like I'll hear my two daughters laughing and I know my son's doing something silly to make them giggle, and then, vice versa, seeing, the tiny one making them laugh by being crazy. But then also it's pretty amazing too. And I'm sure like everyone does like all your boys will get together and do this one thing to make mom laugh. You know what I mean? To see them three like building a bit together, like they all have a thing that they do. Like they make their tummies talk, their belly buttons talk. And it's like a sketch comedy group. It's like, oh my God, we are raising literally like kids in the hall. Like we're raising a cast of Saturday Night Live members. But they're all uniquely, different too. You know what I mean? Like, you have your kid that's studious and the kid that's, has no shame and the kid that cries the most. It's like those sensibilities also mixed with their senses of humor is an amazing thing to see too. Because you see these little personalities kind of make up their own, look at them. They're running around giggling right now.
I can hear them.
There's no escape.
Yeah.
Look, there's no escape.
If you could tell them to please be quiet because we're recording a dad podcast, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I know. Good luck. Everybody shut up. I know. The plan is, I told you I have a curtain over here.
Yeah.
But guys, I want to reveal this to the Dad Edge audience. Had a friend look at it. I'm pretty handy. I've redid some kitchens and bathrooms. My door is prime for a bookshelf door. Yeah. Yeah. In my hallway.
A bookshelf. Oh, so you're talking like secret man
it's called
cave.
what's it called? It's called the kind of shelf. It's whatever.
Yeah. It's like in the movie
something
Clue.
Door. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So my door is perfect for that. In the hallway, it would look like a bookshelf next to the bathroom. Oh, baby. I can't wait.
I think you should do that.
I'm saving up. But until then, it's not soundproof.
We'll have a link. We'll have a link to Aaron's Patreon account. So if you guys want to go fund his door, his secret passageway door, we'll have that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, so I love how we're kind of bouncing back from funny to serious.
I love it.
Yeah. Does the biological father thing ever show up for you in maybe not the best way? Let me explain. So my biological father, my mom and him split up when I was 1. I actually I had an opportunity to meet him when I was 12. We kind of hung out for a little bit.
Yeah. Very similarly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we kind of, we drifted, unfortunately, and that really messed with me. And then meeting him again when I was 30, and now, I do have a 12-year-old, and sometimes every now and again, like things will creep in and be like, "There's nothing that could take me away from this kid ever."
Yep.
Ever.
Right.
Like, I don't care I don't care if the world came to an end and we were like in the 7-year rapture right now. Like, I would get to him somehow, some way.
Sure.
So like every now and again, if I allow it, which I usually just don't allow it, I don't allow I allow those thoughts to creep in for a minute. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to focus on that. Just not. But it does likes to get there sometimes and just kind of scratch it a little bit.
You're absolutely right. I think, that's, those things that just make sure that I think it's being emotionally on your toes. You know what I mean? I think it's really healthy to think about things like that. You know what I mean? Because it helps you deal with them better, So I wouldn't say that those things come up naturally. I think like anybody, would. But it's not something that ever like kind of pokes at me, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm also okay with that, So yeah, does that answer that?
No, it does. I mean, so it sounds like it really doesn't mess with you too much. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, because some people I know, they're like, but come on. Do you want to cry about something? Or, you know what I mean? Like, because some people, and I'm like, I really, and sometimes I shut them up where I'm like, well, my father is God in heaven. And they're like, oh, geez, okay. Like scare them with that or something. But,
right.
But no, I don't know what to tell you. I wish it was like, I don't wish there was some soul cracking thing, but yeah, I feel like, I don't know how else to say it. It's I feel like God's done what he's going to do, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And I feel like that I don't need it. You know what I mean? I don't know a lot of people that want to make that, journey. I don't need it. And I've said too, like my mom now has since remarried, almost the same. They met a week after my wife and I met. My current stepdad was one of my Boy Scout leaders in middle school. Great guy, really great guy. Taught me how to fix cars in my 20s. And also my father-in-law. I met my father-in-law when I was 18. I went over and watched a hockey game with my new girlfriend and met her parents. And, my 18th birthday, which is like a month after I met him, he bought me my first, crescent wrench set. You know what I mean? Bought me a lawnmower for my 21st birthday. So, if anybody, like my father-in-law, that's my dad. I mean, because, I think about it like that. I do. So
that's cool.
And I get reminded of it every day, because it's almost like my mother-in-law and my wife kind of like, were you raised by him? Cause like I say everything he says, but then again, the guy's influencing me since I became a man, you know what I mean? So, it makes sense that I'm just yelling the same things he yells now and complaining about, the grass and running the hose and, wrappers on the floor. Yeah.
I feel you on that one. I've got, just like you, I have amazing in-laws. My father-in-law likes to bust my balls quite a bit. He's a very mechanical, like can fix anything. And I could probably kill someone with a drill. It's just the way I've always been. Like my mother-in-law always laughs. She's like, just different people are born with different gifts and talents, but my mother-in-law, like I've known her now for 24. I've known both of them for 24 years, but she always tells me like, she always tells me, she's like, and she's never treated me any different. She's like, you're my fourth child. Like, you're one of my own, and it's funny because I haven't been close to my mom for years, and my mom struggled with alcohol really bad, still does. And we've never really been close. But she and I have been really, really close, which has been really refreshing. As far as just,
I don't know if you're going to ask another question, but I just want to jump on that, is that I experienced the same thing where I feel like my wife has been a positive example to me and my family over the years. And that I think my presence in her family has done something too, because, my family, was always goofy and crazy, and my whole family all of us went through everything. My mom had, 2 brothers and a sister, so we're, this small, but like tight knit family that all had problems, and that calming, like sweet woman of my wife, walks in and they're like, oh, everyone, a lady's here. Knock it off. Grandma, put the knife down, knock it off. Like, a lady is here. Like, that was what my wife did for my family. You know what I mean? It's like, we have a dinner guest, stop acting like animals, like, and then for my wife's family, they were like, very like, don't talk, fun family, you know what I mean? But like, and they were funny, but they weren't me and like my mom and my sister. we're very open. We're very like, we talk a lot. And so my in-laws family, when they experience me, I'm like, hey guys, like I'm bringing up stuff and like, and they're like, oh, we don't talk about that aunt. We don't talk. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then I'm like ripping on, her uncle's shoes. And they're like, is he insulting uncle's shoes? Like, what is the matter with it? But then you see over like a decade, it's like, now it's like, you kind of see the best of both, that like kind of who my wife and my kids are in both dinner tables. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I feel what you're saying there. Sorry.
No, I appreciate you bringing it up.
I think that's neat.
No, that is cool. Do you ever have a bad day or a bad moment? You just come across to me as like one of those dudes who's like always happy. And the second question of that is, when you do have bad moments, like you're like, man, I'm supposed to be the funny guy and I'm pissed off right now.
Yeah.
Did that ever mess with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, good digging. No, you're right. You're going to find something, Blair. Talk about my dad again. No, I'm kidding. I'm also an actor. So, and I think, and I honestly can answer that I come from a place too, where I've been an actor my whole life. I don't have theater training. This is life training. I can change my personality because I've had to,
Yeah.
But no, it is hard sometimes to, especially now, we're going through months of quarantine, and being out of work. And, that's not, it's not fun. It's hard to think about that you work for how many years I've been trying to work in entertainment and 10 years in stand-up. And I have an Amazon special come out when I can't tour.
Right.
I mean, it's like a band coming out with their biggest album and you're not able to go on tour. That's exactly what it is. And so, that's hard. But one thing I would say, we don't hide that from our kids. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're pretty open. We're, my mom says like we wear our heart on our sleeve, like we're kind of, how I'm feeling, you're going to hear about it probably. You know what I mean? Now the degree of anger is how bad of a day it is. You know what I mean? Like, is my anxiety boiling that anger also? Is that mixed in? You know what I mean? But it's also, I don't know. It's, it's also great to let that out and express yourself. You know what I mean? Which I mostly do on stage, which is like, oh, like, how do you, or people are like, what, you don't beat your kids too? No, I tell people, I'm like, well, I get on stage and swear about them and that does the trick. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's like everybody, you have those moments. This is not an easy business. I know you have a lot of dads that work for themselves and, that listen, and you think of guys, dads that own their own business, like a contractor or stuff like that. That's kind of what I do. I sell, I'm a traveling salesman. I just sell my face and my jokes and my name. And that's hard. It's hard. You think it's hard to sell windows or siding or cars. Try selling you. It's the most teeter-totter of humbling and narcissistic jobs of all time. It's really hard. Like I'm trying to be a humble person. It's hard to be your own publicist. It's terrible. But why did I say that? Can't remember. But yeah, just going back to, it being a hard job. You just kind of take it in stride. Yeah. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I feel like I lost my thought there when I started about traveling salesman. No,
you did, because we were really talking about you having bad moments, and right. I'm sure not every moment is funny, and how you deal with anxiety.
Right.
And I think one thing that men really are curious about is, how do we deal with unexpected adversity? So I have a question for you. I don't know if you've ever answered, but
okay.
I'd love to hear a comedian on stage and unexpected adversity. So when you have a heckler, right, and a guy or a woman who's just trying to razz you, right? And I think as men, like, we have our quote unquote hecklers of life, right? And maybe it doesn't show up as the person in the stands, but it shows up as, well, shit, well, my car just broke down. And crap, my credit card's maxed out. Oh, my kid just like, spilled the milk for the 5th time today. It's like all these things. So how do you deal with hecklers and the unexpected things that happen like during a show?
First, I know people always say they have hecklers. Luckily I've never had like a heckler in the true sense of someone screaming like I suck. So that's good. Most of the time, and this is like, not that I'm trying to correct comedy myths. It's like, most of the time, it's not like it's a heckler. I'm going to be honest. It's drunk people. And if they are, when they're not drunk, if they're an asshole, chances are they're going to be a terrible drunk. So that's normally what it is. It's usually young. I can almost categorize who has yelled out. It's white women in their 40s, 100%. Drunk white women in their 40s every time. Especially if they're on a girls group, every time. There's always one. There's always like, oh my God, Tina's losing her mind over here. And then it's like either young drunk dudes, like in their 20s, like just it's their 2nd week of drinking. Dudes between like, because at a club, it's mostly over 21. So like 21 to 25 dudes, like those guys, they when they're still feeling their balls, they think they're bad dudes.
Right.
And then they talk to a grown man and all their friends are like, oh, and all he did was say something about his tight shirt. You know what I mean? It's great.
Right.
But no, I think for me, it's always been to like lean a little more to like make it like a serious. I think it's always just being able to improvise. That is the answer, I think, both ways.
Yeah. And
I think that experience gives you the ability to improvise. And in comedy, before I've been doing stand-up for 10 years. Before I did that, I did sketch, I did improv. I had an acting resume before I did stand-up. I did Second City in Chicago. I mean, I did so much comedy that by the time I started doing stand-up solo, if you back me into a corner, I have the tools to try to get out. You know what I mean? Like I've had enough experience, but in life too. I feel like, man, I've done a lot. I've done a lot. I've been through a lot. And, I feel like I don't want to talk like I'm some, 85-year-old World War II vet, because that's, I'm not that guy, I'm not through things, like I've been through the shit. Like it's, but at one point in my 20s, I had 6 business cards. So I've tried everything, you know what I mean? And so, that kind of, helps you improvise as well, because you've been through so many different life situations, have dealt with so many different personalities. And I've worked in a bunch of different kinds of businesses, I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. I've always, I've made money since I was 11 or 12 years old. So still don't really make money, but you know what I mean?
Sure. Right.
I've been poor forever. I think I had 2 good years where I'm like, this is great. You do like 2 movies and a commercial in a year and you're like, I'm going to do this forever. No, you're not. But yeah, you go through things and you kind of have those experiential tools in your toolbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not fazed by much anymore.
No, I think that's a good theme, man. I mean, because we, as fathers, husbands, I'll give you an example.
All we do is improvise.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
And I also think you need to, and I'm preaching to myself here for a second. You almost need to, you have to expect that things are going to go awry. Like I had a bad moment last Sunday where my 4-year-old had a 32 ounce. I don't know why a 4-year-old thinks he needs 32 ounces of ice water, but he did at the table. And I ended up wearing all of it, and it went into my food and everything else. I was like, oh. But here's the funny thing. I sat down, it was Sunday dinner, and I had these expectations, and you're going to laugh as I say them. I was like, oh, it's Sunday dinner. It's going to be nice. And nothing's going to go wrong. We're all going to sit here and talk about like our week and what we're looking forward to this week. And it's going to be great. And no one's going to like all these expectations. And then I ended up wearing 32 ounces of ice water. And I'm like, at first, my first gut reaction was like, oh, man, I'm pissed. Right. And I'm sitting there thinking like, why should I be pissed? Why should I expect anything less? And why, when my 4-year-old sits down with this giant cup of ice water, why didn't I just assume someone at some point was going to be wearing it. Like, why would I not expect anything else?
Yeah.
So I like that. Just being able to expect it, being ready to improvise.
And that's something that my kids kind of knocked out of me, was that, something about having a tumultuous kind of, childhood and school life. And it was always about finding something to control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, me, going and trying to entertain people and try acting and theater and filmmaking. It was trying to control my destiny. It was trying to, control what people see of me and like get the reaction that I want, and also just, kind of, you want to, I got to put my pieces together. I should write this down. But it's also like with kids, the whole time you're trying to control your whole life, and because you want something normal, and then when you have kids, it really kind of, like I said, it kind of whipped me into shape where I'm just like, you cannot control everything. Things are happen that are unexpected. You know what I mean? And it kind of, having kids kind of eased my anxiety on those things. You know what I mean? Because before I had kids, I would get so either frustrated or more determined to do what I feel like I needed or wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not in a, not in a dastardly way. You know what I mean? Like, but it was just like, I want to, film this. I want to, I remember like, well, what do I need to do? I want to get, join the SAG-AFTRA union for acting. Like, that's my goal. And I would like, how do I do it? But then when you have kids, it's like, you want your kids to do this and be this, and you can't control all of that. You know what I mean? Even when you have an amazing teammate, like my wife, like it's still, things are out of control. You know what I mean? And, we're afraid that we're helicopter parents sometimes too much, like I'm going to be honest with you. I'm the dad that my kid would put that cup down. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Because I don't know. I'm a little OCD like that. Like I have like, I tell my kids I have like Terminator eyes. Like I'm like, I'm like danger right here. I profile it, and then my predator heat vision kicks in. So like, that's how my dad OCD works, where I'm like, boom, threat. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, yo, take that cup, put it in a small cup, put it in the sink, get that out of here, danger. So like, I think that's more of like, like not that, and sometimes people are like, what, like I'm not, like my OCD is like I'm on cocaine all the time. And I just laugh and say I'm high on the Lord. That's my joke. Because this is who I am, maybe because my Diet Dr. Pepper kicked in. See, look,
that's caffeine.
It's like 3% caffeine, and look what it does to me. If I drink more than 2 cups of coffee in the morning, I better have wood to chop. I'm serious. So, but does that all make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And now you got me thinking of Predator, like
I know, right? It's one of the best action movies ever made.
I know. If you see your kid acting out, you should just be like, get to the chopper.
Yeah, everybody now. I know.
That's pretty good, by the way.
Yeah.
I heard it in there.
I try.
Can you give it? Go ahead. Do it.
Yeah, I do know. Okay. So hold on. So I haven't done Arnold in a long time. My son, like, when my son was little, this is going to make you laugh so hard. So I feel like in 2015, 16, and 17, I lost 100 pounds, and I was bodybuilding and trying to, look good. And so like my son was, 2 years old at the time, 3 years old. So when I was home, he was with me all the time. I'm going through my Arnold bodybuilding book, and it's just all day. I'm like, come here, Arnold's gonna get you. Come here, look at my delts. Come here and try to get by these lats, and like make all these like funny like Arnold jokes to him, and like and play with him and stuff. And like to my son, he just thinks I'm doing this crazy voice.
Yeah.
Like meanwhile I'm like, come here, I break you in half. Like. And he's just like, my daddy's doing a crazy voice. And then he's like, that's Arnold. Like, I'm like, he would see my bodybuilding book and he'd be like, oh, Arnold. And, he'd look at the bodybuilders and he's like, I'm like, Arnold's the best. Arnold, and then he would see him and like, we'd watch like Jingle All the Way. And he's like, wait, and he's like, and Arnold like, put the cookie down. And he's like, is that wait, Dad, did you do his voice? Like, who is that? I'm like, that's Arnold. Remember the bodybuilder? And they're like, what? Their minds are blown. Yeah.
You're a funny guy, Aaron. I like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You're funny. I'm going to. Hey, remember you told me I'm going to kill you last?
Yeah.
No, I know. I know the quotes. Don't mess with me with Commando, Larry. I know Commando quotes when I hear them. I'm on a dad podcast. You didn't think I'd be prepared?
Oh man. I love it, dude. Well, hey, as we wrap up here, man, do you mind if we do a couple of lightning round questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So people are at your funeral.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like them to say about you? Just maybe a couple sentences that really resonate with you.
That's tough. You try,
and I don't mean to be morbid.
Hard. You pluck at all the strings. I like you.
I do.
You're good. Your alliance is in good hands. I honestly, I would just want them to say more about my family and my kids. Okay. I would want my kids to be my testament. That's what I would want people to say. That we did good. You know what I mean? For them to say, look at this family over here. And that came from that idiot. You know what I mean? That broken idiot and this sweet angel. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's honestly, that's my only goal. You know what I mean? Is to make really good human beings, because that's our job.
What are some bucket list items you want to do with your kids? Oh,
geez. For a second, the first thing that popped in my head was do as a bucket list. And number one, I was like, fire a rocket launcher. That's a hard question, because I feel like, we've tried to do lots of things together as a family, I have moments, but not something like, if I could just pick, like right now we're having a conversation. Like my son was like, I wish we could go to Denmark to the Legoland headquarters. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that would be amazing. We went to Legoland last year. I performed in Sarasota, Florida, and we surprised them at Legoland. That was amazing. So, we've always been obsessed with Legos. My son's, room is covered right now. It's pretty kind of dope, actually. So, but yeah, that was a fun thing we've talked about. But also, we're not the kind of people too, like people might think of vacations or something. We've never had the money for vacations. So unless daddy's performing in Virginia Beach, you can come along, but they really do. Like, that's when we go on vacation. I perform, my kids saw Washington, DC because I performed there, So I don't. So that's a weird question. You know what I mean? Because maybe let me give the corny answer, Lair. Maybe I feel like there's not much we want. You know what I mean? And I think especially in this quarantine time, it kind of really kind of solidifies that we're doing okay.
Yeah.
That we're not complaining that we don't have something when everything we need is right here.
Yeah.
Except a live audience. That would be nice. I would love a live audience.
Right. Well, hopefully that's coming soon. Right.
I know, right?
Yeah. I think you and I were joking about Ryan Stout. I saw him in stand up, and it was literally the Friday before they shut everything down.
Oh yeah.
And we were in the Funny Bone Comedy Club here in St. Louis, which holds, I don't know how many hundreds of people, but there was,
that one's probably like 250.
Yeah. It's about right. And I think that there was 25 of us. It was the weirdest thing ever. Like, to be in a crowd where you can really hear the handfuls of people laughing, and that's it.
Yeah.
No, the reason I ask these questions, especially that last one, is because just men in general, us included, like my wife and I were talking about it not too long ago. We sat down and I was like, what's the vision? Like, you're at the end of your life. What has brought you the most joy? And both of us pretty much kind of had the same answers. We're like, we don't need a fancy car. We don't need crazy elaborate vacations. We just want to live like a really good life and have really good connection with each other and our kids. And we want to do things like, as far as like experience things, not things that are crazy. Like, I wouldn't call Disneyland like an epic experience, but I took my two oldest boys on a hike up a 14,000 foot mountain and back on a rite of passage, and like stuff like that. That's very simple but complex. But just things like that are just like, you want to create an experience that, like, on your deathbed, your kids will remember it, and so will they on theirs. Like, those are the visions we have. As far as how do you deal with, how do you fill your own bucket? So things that, like, you know what, like for some people it's running, for some people it's, I got to do, whatever it is. So what's your thing?
That's interesting. That's, man, that's, how do I fill my bucket? I don't know. That's a weird.
I'm asking some tough questions.
It's hard to verbalize, though. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, first, I couldn't agree with you more about, we don't need much.
Yeah.
And forgive me if I'm talking about, maybe other families, but, when we see families like, when you look at a family and you're like, look, I know how much money you guys make. Why did you just go in debt to go on that vacation? Like, what? Like, why did you do that? Like, why? That's not everything. Like, that's, like my kids, we're bummed that we can't go to the public pool this summer.
Yeah.
Like, that's us just chilling and laying at the pool, which we're super, privileged to have that, like literally a couple miles away. And it's like a cheap, awesome public pool. And, like, it's the simple things. It's, it's being together. You know what I mean? I hate to be that, like, oh, you're perfect. Well, we work hard at it. You know what I mean? Like, we work hard to feel good and enjoy being together. You know what I mean? And create those experiences for sure. I wish we had more opportunity to create experiences, and that's time and money, like everybody. But for me, I guess, like, I could say that, my bucket probably likes to be filled with attention because, and I get it. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to get attention and to fill. I've always said that, like, there's always that. Let's say that what your bucket is, it's like that hole in you that you want to fill with something. You know what I mean? And mine's lubed up with Jameson a little bit. Okay, let's look. Okay, but I think finding that thing that fulfills you, and I honestly, I hate to say it's attention, but I'm just being real, because a lot of other comedians will go, well, I love making people laugh. No, you love attention. You're a liar, so it's like, I felt like I wasn't loved as a kid. So now I get strangers to love me. I get it, like, know thyself. It's very important. But I feel like my bucket is full with the love that I not only, get from my family, but from friends and fans, and I don't even like saying the word fans, because it's really just people. And I feel like you experience this too, the people that come alongside you while you're doing what you love, and they enjoy it too, because they wish they could do it. You know what I mean? Or they relate, or they, people gravitate you for some sort of reason. They can relate to you, or they love escaping in whatever you're offering. You know what I mean? And so that fills me up. It fills me up when people say, like, I needed this tonight, or, doing I've been doing so much live stream stuff, like I'm not able to do comedy so much, and, live, and I'm not crazy about doing Zoom comedy. If you've heard of this, it's not a blast. So like Friday nights, I do like a late show, something I've always wanted to do. And I did a 50 episode. I just ended last week, a 50 episode, like, dad vlog, just like riffing. And those are the kind of things, by just doing that, kind of keeping me busy, but also kind of giving me my outlet of just like talking and being silly. It's seeing those people through doing that, people saying, thanks for still doing, like, being funny. Like, I watch you every day, every day I look forward to watching your Daily Dad at noon. That's the people that I'm like, when I quit at 50, I was like upset for. I'm like, they're like, oh no, you're not doing any more. And I'm like, well, yeah, I did 50, or like, but hearing that, it's, that fills my bucket. It's, if I can make people happy, that's cool, and that's what I've told my kids from the beginning, what's daddy do? Daddy makes people laugh and tries to make people happy. It's really is that simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I like that.
And that's really what it all is. I tell people, I have this like little mantra phrase that I came up with for kind of like a nonprofit thing when I I try to raise money. Most of the time I raise money for the Pittsburgh Women's Center and Shelter, because I make the joke that I stayed there for a while, so I owe them rent. But no, like I have this kind of this mantra I came up with. It's be kind, be funny. And it's like, it's years of people asking like, hey, what do you think? Like, how do you make it doing this? How do you make it in like showbiz? How do you make it as a comedian? Which I have not made it at all. But like, I kind of broke it down in like, I don't know, there's like, there's 2 commandments that are the greatest, or, you know what I mean? Like, so I just thought, everyone would ask, especially young comics would say like, oh, how do I, and I'm still a young comic. I would say, honestly, like, be a good person and be funny on the microphone. Like, that's like all you can do. And then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, be kind, be funny. Like it's about all I know how to do is be kind and be funny and whatever, hey, that's all I strive to do that. And I think my kids know that too, is just like, enjoy each other's company, make people happy, not make people happy like it's, your job. Cause that's a whole nother problem comedians have, is trying to please everybody. But, and just being kind no matter what. So, yeah.
I love the simplicity of that, man. It just be kind, be funny.
Yeah.
And expect the hecklers. So
yeah, right.
Just
be ready to improvise.
Improvise. Yeah. Hey, so I want to make sure that all the guys can find where you're at. They can subscribe to your podcast, you got all kinds of things going on. I want to make sure
much social media content, bro. Like, so like it's crazy. I exhaust myself. I feel bad of how much I post things. But no, if you spelled my name correctly, so you can just look up my name, Aaron Kleiber, at Aaron Kleiber on all social medias. My podcast is Grown Dad Business. It's easy to find. If you search your podcast, I will come up as a suggestion. I almost guarantee that. Cause that's happened. I literally think that's how I found yours. It's like I was checking my own podcast for sound levels, and I'm like, Grown Dad Business, looking at mine, and then I'm like, Dad Edge. I'm like, oh, I'll subscribe to that one. And that one looks good. Oh, that one has over 100 reviews. It's probably decent. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, Grown Dad Business. I'm hitting episode 200. And I can say, when will this be out? Do you know?
I do. This will be out August 31st. The quarantine has pushed us. And by the way, for those of you listening, it's May.
Yeah, right. I know.
I am that far ahead with
That's
content.
Great. Yeah, which I'm ahead too.
My producer loves me right now.
No, that makes total sense. So, so up until then, like I'm in June, I hit my 200th episode, which is a 2-part with my friend Bob Saget. So that's, I've been able to interview so many comedy friends through my podcast. And so yeah, check that out. It's, really interesting takes. I will suggest one podcast that I think your listeners will love. It's gosh, I don't even remember what number it is, but if you go to my Grown Dad Business podcast, look for Paul Rodriguez. Paul Rodriguez is one of the pioneering Latino comedians. And he talks deeply about missing his son growing up because he was a road comic. And it's one of the best conversations I've ever had. There's a bunch of people I talked to, Bobcat Goldthwait, Harlan Williams, about growing up, and, so yeah, I don't know. Now I'm thinking like, as a fan, like, hey, you might like this. So I don't mean to pitch so hard.
No, man, that's good.
And then my comedy special, Grown Ass Dad. Everything has the word dad in it. It's not hard. On Amazon Prime. And if you don't have Amazon Prime, God forbid that you pay $2.99 to rent it or buy the album on iTunes. So yeah.
I can't wait. Yeah. So guys, don't even worry. We'll have all the links in the show notes for you. Man. So, of course. Got to support the dads out there. You guys, so you can find this episode at gooddadproject.com/281 for all the links that Aaron mentioned here. And so Bobcat Goldthwait, I remember seeing him for the first time in Police Academy, and I remember being like 12, and I was like, I wonder if that guy really talks like that all the time.
Yeah, I know. Now in his act, he like does a small bit of making fun of it. Like, what the hell was wrong with me? Why did I change my voice? Yeah.
Oh man, that was just crazy. I can't even remember. I can't remember the guy's name. I can't remember the character he played, but I was always like, what is that? Does he really talk like that?
Oh yeah. I know, right?
Well, Aaron, dude, this has been a pleasure, man. This was fun. And best of luck with everything you're doing, man. It's just, I enjoyed this immensely. We need to have more comedians on this show, because I know sometimes we have some pretty ads. That'd be great. We have some pretty serious characters on this show, so it'd be great to have more funny people.
Yeah, I know. Make sure you put a comedian after your Navy SEALs.
That's
yeah, brother. Thank you so much, and thanks for what you're doing. Because I wish that I could talk seriously about being a dad for many hours a week, and some people just have to bear that cross. So thank you, Larry, because I don't want to be too serious all the time. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, because God knows I need more humor sometimes when I'm wearing 32 ounces of water.
Yeah.
At the dinner table.
I know. And say, hey, thanks for caring as a dad. Thanks for agreeing to, raise good people. Thanks, Larry.
Hey, back at you.
Because they're going to be in the world with my kids, so they better not be little assholes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Your kids will be making mine laugh. So, gentlemen, again, go to gooddadproject.com/281 for this show. Again, go out, live with intention, live with purpose, and above all else, live legendary. Take care.